Ethan had always felt a little out of place in the city. He worked late-night shifts at a small security office, monitoring cameras and walking empty hallways when most people were asleep. Life for him was simple and quiet, almost too quiet. Some nights, the silence pressed down on him, and he wondered if there was more to life than his routine. He often wandered through the city after his shifts just to see something different, something exciting. Even if it was only for a few minutes before heading home. One evening, the city felt different. The usual hum of traffic and distant chatter was there, but there was a strange energy in the air. He had heard about an underground cultural event happening in one of the older, less-known buildings downtown. People said it was full of music, art, and performances that were unusual things you couldn't find anywhere else in the city. Ethan had never been to anything like it, but tonight, curiosity pushed him to go. When he arrived, the room was dimly lit with soft, colored lights that flickered over paintings, sculptures. In a small stage where musicians played strange instruments, the crowd was eclectic, dressed in a mix of formal and casual, some in costumes, some in everyday clothes. But among all these people, one figure caught his eye immediately. She was standing near the center of the room, seemingly watching everyone at once, but focused on no one in particular. There was something about her that made her stand out without trying. She had an aura that made people step back instinctively. Her posture was straight, elegant, and yet natural. Her movements were smooth and deliberate, as if every motion had meaning, and even the smallest gesture seemed important. She didn't smile at anyone, but she didn't frown either. She simply existed, and that was enough to command attention. Ethan felt his heart beat a little faster. He couldn't explain why, but he felt drawn to her, as if some invisible thread connected him to her. It wasn't fear exactly, but it was more than curiosity. He wanted to know who she was, why she was here, and what made her so different from everyone else. As he watched, he noticed small details that no one else seemed to care about. Her eyes were striking, not just in color, but in how they seemed to see everything at once, yet somehow looked right at him. Her skin was pale, almost glowing under the dim lights, and her hair moved softly, even though there was no breeze. She wore a dress that shimmered slightly, catching the light in a way that made it seem alive. Every step she took was quiet, yet she seemed to move faster than everyone else without hurrying. Ethan walked closer, trying not to draw attention. He felt awkward, like someone staring too long at something they shouldn't, but he couldn't stop himself. He wanted to understand her, even if he couldn't explain why. As he approached, he noticed how the crowd reacted. People didn't get close to her. They whispered, stared for a moment, then moved away, almost like they sensed something about her that made them nervous. But she didn't seem bothered by anyone. In fact, she seemed calm, untouchable, and completely in control. Ethan's mind raced. Who was she? Was she a performer? A visitor from another city? He had seen many people in his life, but he had never seen anyone like her. There was a strange mix of danger and comfort about her. It was as if she could hurt someone if she wanted, but she would never hurt the wrong person. He wondered if anyone else could feel the same way he did, drawn to her. Without even knowing why, after a few moments of hesitation, he decided to approach her. His legs felt heavy, and his hands were sweaty, but he forced himself forward. He cleared his throat softly and said, "Hi, I'm Ethan. I just wanted to say hello." She turned toward him slowly, her head tilting slightly. For a moment, he thought he saw a flicker of recognition in her eyes, as if she had been waiting for him. Then she smiled, not a wide smile, but a small, knowing one that made his heart skip. It wasn't a friendly smile exactly, but it wasn't unfriendly either. It was more like an invitation, an acknowledgement that he had taken the right step. "I'm Celine," she said, her voice soft but clear, with a tone that seemed to echo slightly, even in the crowded room. "You have courage to approach me?" Ethan swallowed nervously. I guess I was curious. You seem different. I mean, I don't know. You stand out." He felt foolish the moment he said it, but he couldn't take it back. Selena's eyes seemed to study him, and Ethan felt as if she was looking past his clothes, his face, and even his expression, looking straight into his thoughts. It was an uncomfortable feeling, but not unpleasant. There was honesty in her gaze, and somehow it made him feel exposed, yet safe. "You are honest," she said after a moment, almost like she had read his mind. "Many people are not. Many people only see what they want to see, but you see more than you realize." Ethan didn't know what to say. Most people he talked to didn't notice the small details of life, the things that mattered. Yet this woman, this mysterious Celine, seemed to notice him. And more than that, she seemed to appreciate his effort, his courage, and his presence. For the next few minutes, they walked through the room together. Celine moved with a grace that made Ethan stumble occasionally, trying to match her pace. She pointed out small details in the art, asking questions that made him think differently, notice more deeply. He realized that she didn't just look at the world, she experienced it fully, tensely. People still moved away when they saw her, giving them space. It wasn't fear exactly, but respect mixed with uncertainty. And Ethan realized that she was unlike anyone he had ever met or would ever meet again. There was an air of mystery around her, and he felt lucky somehow that she had let him come close. As the night went on, the music changed. A slow, melodic tune filled the room, and people began to dance in small circles. Ethan felt a sudden impulse. He wanted to be closer to her, to share a moment that went beyond words. He hesitated for a second, fear and excitement mixing in his chest, and then he asked, almost without thinking, "Would you like to dance with me?" Celine paused, tilting her head slightly. Then, to Ethan's surprise, she smiled again, a smile that seemed warmer this time. "Yes," she said softly. And just like that, she extended her hand. Ethan took it, feeling a jolt of electricity pass through him. As they moved on to the small dance floor, he realized that nothing about this night was ordinary. The city, the lights, the people all faded into the background. For the first time in his life, Ethan felt like he was exactly where he was supposed to be, experiencing something extraordinary, something that might change his life forever. And in that moment, he didn't yet know the full truth about Selena, about who she was, where she came from, or the world she belonged to. But he knew one thing. This was the beginning of something remarkable. A story he would never forget, and a night that would linger in his mind long after the lights dimmed and the music faded. As the music shifted to a slow, melodic tune, Ethan felt a strange mix of excitement and nervousness. He had never danced with anyone like Celine before. Most people he had danced with in the past were friends, acquaintances, or strangers at parties, and it had always been light and casual. But this felt different. There was something about the way she moved, graceful, deliberate, almost like she was gliding, that made him feel both clumsy and captivated. He tried to mirror her movements, but every step seemed awkward compared to her smooth motions. She noticed, of course, but instead of laughing or correcting him, she simply guided him with subtle movements. Her hand in his felt cool, but not uncomfortable. And he realized it wasn't just her touch, it was the confidence and certainty she radiated that made him feel both safe and alert at the same time. The room around them seemed to fade. The dancers, the music, even the colorful lights, all became a soft blur. All Ethan could focus on was Celine. Her eyes, deep, intense, and unblinking, seemed to study him with a strange interest. He felt like she could see into him, reading his thoughts and feelings without him speaking a word. For a moment he wondered if he should step back, but an invisible force held him in place. He wanted to know more about her, and he wanted her to know him. "Why do you dance like that?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Celine tilted her head slightly, considering his question. "It is not just dancing," she said. Her voice was soft and musical, carrying a weight that made every word feel important. "It is a way to feel life, to understand it. Most people move without thinking, exist in the moment but never truly experience it. Dancing is a form of seeing, of knowing." Ethan nodded, unsure if he fully understood, but he could feel the truth in her words. There was a depth to her, a knowledge of things he had never considered. The way she spoke, the way she moved, made the world feel bigger, more mysterious. For the first time in his life, he realized that ordinary life was only a small part of what existed. As they continued dancing, Ethan noticed small things that seemed unusual. Her skin was cooler than anyone else's he had touched, almost like she carried a hidden winter inside her. Her movements didn't produce the small noises or shifts of weight that he expected. Even her reflection in a nearby mirrored wall seemed faint, almost like it didn't belong. Ethan blinked, thinking his eyes were playing tricks on him, but it stayed faint, not clear. "Are you okay?" Celine asked, tilting her head toward him. Her voice sounded gentle. But there was something about the way she asked that made it clear she already knew the answer. Ethan hesitated. Yeah, I'm fine. I've never felt anything like this before." Celine's lips curved into a small smile. "That is because this moment is rare. Most people never feel it. Most people never notice what is around them. You are different." He felt his heart beat faster. Her words were flattering, but also confusing. What did she mean by different? Why did she think he was special? Most people ignored him or treated him as ordinary. And yet here she was, calling him different. Noticing him in a way no one else ever had. The music swelled, and the room seemed to breathe with the rhythm. Ethan tried to match her steps, following her lead, but it was difficult. She moved with a fluidity that made her seem almost weightless, while he stumbled and tried to keep pace. But instead of frustration or impatience, she simply adapted, guiding him gently, never letting him feel embarrassed. "You are learning quickly," she said softly, her voice like a melody itself. "Many take years to move with understanding. You only need a moment. That is rare." Ethan's mind raced. He had never felt this level of attention before, never had someone notice him in such a deep way, and it wasn't just about dancing. There was a connection forming between them, fragile and new, but powerful in its own way. As they moved together, he began to notice other things, tiny details that no one else seemed aware of. She didn't blink often. Her eyes seemed brighter in the dim light, almost reflective. Her hair moved slightly, even though there was no breeze. And the air around her felt different. Cooler, but not unpleasant, and somehow heavier, as if it carried weight that made him more aware of himself. Ethan stopped for a moment, trying to catch his breath. I feel like something's not right," he admitted quietly. Celine tilted her head, her expression unreadable. "What do you mean? I don't know you. You're not like anyone I've met before. There's something about you, I can't explain it." I sound softly, a sound that was light but carried authority. "You are perceptive. Most people would never notice. Some things are hidden, even in plain sight. You notice." Ethan felt both thrilled and nervous. Her words seemed to acknowledge something he hadn't realized. About himself, that he could see beyond the ordinary, that he could feel more than most people did. And yet, with that acknowledgement came a new tension. He didn't know what he was getting into, and a small part of him feared the unknown. The dance ended briefly as the music slowed even more, and Ethan realized he was breathless. But he didn't want to let go of her hand. There was a tension in the air, a silent understanding that something important was happening. She looked at him, her eyes holding his for a moment longer than comfortable. "You are brave to ask me to dance," she said softly. "Many would never dare. That courage, it is not common among humans." Ethan laughed nervously, unsure if she was teasing or serious, I guess. "Didn't think. I just wanted to know you better." Her smile widened slightly. "And now you do, in part. But there is more to know, Ethan. Much more. You cannot imagine it yet. The world you know is smaller than the truth. What you feel now, it is only the beginning." A shiver ran down his spine, not from cold, but from the sense that she was speaking a truth far beyond his understanding. The room around them felt ordinary again. But he knew it wasn't. There was something extraordinary about her. Something ancient and powerful that made him feel both alive and insignificant at the same time. Ethan wanted to ask questions, thousands of them, but he felt that now was not the time. Celine had a presence that demanded patience, observation, and respect. He realized that every small moment with her carried meaning, and rushing it would only ruin the experience. "You move well, Ethan," she said after a pause. "You follow with your heart, not just your feet. That is rare." Ethan smiled awkwardly. "I'm just trying not to step on your toes." Celine laughed softly again, a sound that seemed to echo in the quiet of the dim room. "It is not about avoiding mistakes. It is about noticing, feeling, and choosing. You are learning." As the night went on, Ethan felt a strange mixture of wonder, fear, and excitement. Dancing with her was like stepping into another world, one filled with unseen forces, hidden truths, and emotions he had never experienced. And though he didn't know it yet, this dance was not just a dance. It was the first step into a life-changing journey. By the time the music ended, Ethan was exhausted, but he didn't want to leave her side. The world seemed larger now, filled with possibilities and mysteries he had never imagined. And in that moment he realized something important. Celine was not like anyone he had ever met. Was extraordinary in every way. He was drawn to her with a force he could not resist. Little did he know the truth about her, about who she really was far stranger and more dangerous than he could ever imagine. And this dance, this single simple act of courage, had set in motion a chain of events that would change his life forever. After the dance, Ethan and Celine stepped out of the dimly lit hall into the quiet street. The city seemed different now, calmer yet somehow heavier, as if it too had noticed the unusual energy between them. The usual distant hum of traffic and faint neon lights felt muted, almost as if the world had paused to let this moment exist. Ethan's heart was still racing, not from the dance itself, but from a mixture of wonder, curiosity, and a creeping sense that Celine was unlike anyone he had ever met. They walked together in silence for a few moments. Ethan wanted to speak, to ask her 100 questions, but he felt hesitant. He wasn't sure how to start. Most people he talked to made small talk about weather, work, or movies. But with Celine, small talk felt impossible, almost meaningless. He sensed that whatever she was about, it was far beyond the ordinary. Finally, gathering his courage, Ethan asked, "Celine, you're different, aren't you? There's something about you that I can't explain. You don't seem like other people." Celine stopped walking and turned toward him. Her eyes, glowing slightly in the dim streetlight, held his gaze with an intensity that made his chest tighten. She studied him silently for a long moment before speaking. "You are perceptive, Ethan. Most people do not see what you see. Most people are blind to what is in front of them. You notice, and that is rare." Ethan swallowed hard, trying to make sense of her words. I just know something's not normal. You move differently, and there's something about your eyes, your presence. It's like you're not from here." Selena's lips curved into a small, knowing smile. "You are close to the truth," she said softly. "I am not like humans, Ethan. I am. Not of this world in the way you understand it." Ethan froze. Her words sent a shiver down his spine, not from fear alone, but from a strange mixture of anticipation and disbelief. "Not human, then? What are you?" he asked, his voice barely audible. Celine took a deep breath, her gaze never leaving his. "I am a vampire queen," she said simply, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Ethan blinked. He had heard stories, legends, and myths about vampires, but he had never imagined meeting one in real life, and certainly not a vampire queen. He wanted to laugh, to dismiss it as a joke, but something in her eyes told him she was telling the truth. Her presence, the way she moved, the coolness of her skin, it all made sense in a way that defied logic. You're serious," he whispered, his mind racing. "Vampire queen? But I thought that was only in stories." Celine's smile was calm, almost sad. "Stories are born from truths, Ethan. Some truths are too strange for ordinary minds to accept. I have lived among humans for centuries, hidden, unnoticed. I have watched, learned, and sometimes protected, and now I am here, in your city, because I needed to see something I have not seen in a very long time." Ethan felt a mixture of awe and fear. He had never imagined the world contained beings like her. And yet standing here, he realized that the ordinary life he had known was only a small piece of a much larger reality. Why are you telling me this?" he asked, his voice trembling slightly. Selena's expression softened. "Because you are brave, Ethan. You asked me to dance without knowing who I was. You saw me as a woman, not as a legend or a creature of myth. Most humans, would have turned away in fear or disbelief. You did not, and because of that, you are someone I can trust, at least for now. Ethan's mind struggled to process her words. Trust me. But I don't even know you. How can I trust you? Selena's gaze was steady, unwavering. Trust is not given lightly, and it is not earned quickly. But courage, honesty, and awareness, these are the first steps. You have them. That is why I tell you the truth. For a moment, Ethan was silent. He wanted to ask so many questions about her life, her world, her powers, but he felt that he needed to listen first. To understand the rhythm of this conversation, Selene had a presence that demanded patience. He realized that rushing would not help him comprehend the reality of what he was facing. You live among humans? He finally asked. And no one knows? How do you survive? Selene nodded. Yes, I have lived hidden among humans for centuries. Survival is not always about strength alone. It is about observation, control, and discretion. I take what I need carefully, and I protect those who cannot protect themselves from dangers that humans do not even know exist. Ethan's curiosity grew stronger. Dangers. What kind of dangers? She looked away for a moment, staring into the night. There are forces in the world hidden, ancient, and dangerous. Some wish to harm humans. Some wish to harm my kind. My duty, my responsibility, is to maintain balance. Most humans never see it, never feel it, but it exists. Ethan shivered. The idea that the world contained unseen forces was terrifying, but at the same time, it was fascinating. He had always felt that life was too ordinary, too predictable. And now, for the first time, he felt a glimpse of the extraordinary hidden beneath the surface. Why me? He asked quietly. Why reveal this to me? Selena's eyes softened again, and she stepped closer, her presence overwhelming yet strangely comforting. Because you see, Ethan, courage is rare. Curiosity that does not seek to harm is rare. And honesty, that is almost unheard of. Most humans would run, laugh, or panic. You stayed. You wanted to know, to understand, and that is why I can speak to you. That is why you are different. Ethan felt a mixture of pride and fear. He had never been considered special in any way. People around him often ignored him, overlooked him, or treated him as ordinary. And yet this being, this vampire queen, was telling him that he was different, that his actions mattered. The weight of her words sank in, and he realized that his life had changed in a single night. Selene paused, looking at him carefully. You must understand, Ethan. Knowing the truth about me changes everything. Once you know, there is no going back. The world you thought you knew, it will feel smaller, limited, and insufficient. You will see things others cannot, feel things others ignore, and you must decide. If you can live with that knowledge, if you can accept the responsibility it carries. Ethan's mind raced. He wanted to ask more questions, to demand details, to understand every aspect of her life. But he felt the gravity of her words. This was not a story, a legend, or a joke. This was reality. Reality far beyond his understanding, and he was standing in the middle of it. I think I understand, he said slowly, his voice trembling. But it's hard. I don't know if I can. I mean, I've never seen anything like this before. Selene nodded. That is natural. You are human. Fear and wonder often walk together. But know this. I am not here to harm you. I am here to show you the truth, to offer you understanding. The rest is your choice. Ethan's heart pounded. Choice. That was a word he had never thought about in this context. He had always lived in routine, following rules and avoiding danger. But now, standing with Selene, he realized that choice was not simple. Accepting the truth could change his life forever. Rejecting it might make him safe, but he could never forget what he had seen, what he had felt. He took a deep breath, trying to steady his racing thoughts. So, if I stay? If I know, what happens? Selena's gaze softened, and she placed a hand gently on his shoulder. You will see. You will learn. You will experience life in ways you cannot yet imagine. And you will be aware. Aware of the hidden truths that most humans ignore, but it will not be easy. Knowledge comes with responsibility. Curiosity comes with risk. And understanding comes with sacrifice. Ethan nodded slowly, feeling the weight of her words. He didn't fully understand what lay ahead, but he knew one thing. He could not turn away. The pull he felt toward her, the connection, the curiosity, was stronger than fear. And for the first time, he realized that life had become larger, stranger, and more exciting than he had ever imagined. Celine stepped back slightly, her presence still commanding, but gentle. Rest for now, Ethan. You will need strength for what comes next. And know this. I will be watching, guiding, and protecting when necessary. But you must choose your path wisely. The world you know is only a fragment of the world that exists. Ethan watched her silently, overwhelmed and awed. He had faced many challenges in life, but nothing like this. Nothing could have prepared him for a night when a simple dance led to the revelation of an entirely hidden reality. And yet, despite fear, confusion, and disbelief, he felt something he had never felt before. Hope, courage, and a sense of purpose that stirred deep within him. As Celine walked away into the shadows, her figure slowly blending with the night, Ethan realized that his life had changed irrevocably. The ordinary world he had known was gone. A new world, full of mystery, danger, and wonder, had opened before him. And he knew, without a doubt, that he would never be the same again. The night after Ethan's encounter with Celine, he could barely sleep. His mind kept replaying the events over and over. From the moment he had seen her at the underground event, to the dance that felt both surreal and mesmerizing, and finally, to the revelation that she was a vampire queen, every detail of the night lingered in his mind, the cool touch of her hand, the intensity of her gaze, the strange energy that seemed to follow her wherever she went. He couldn't shake the feeling that his life had shifted, that the ordinary world he had always known had suddenly become smaller, limited, and less significant by morning. Ethan felt restless. He tried to go through his usual routine, walking to work, checking cameras, and logging reports. But his thoughts kept drifting back to Celine. What did she mean when she said that knowing the truth would change everything? What dangers existed that humans were unaware of? And most importantly, what choice did she expect him to make? The questions were endless, and the answers felt just out of reach. After work, he found himself wandering through the quiet streets of the city once more. The evening sky was painted in shades of purple and orange, the kind of colors that made the world seem magical, as if it existed on the edge of reality and fantasy. And in that magical light, he saw her again. Celine stood on a balcony of an old building, looking over the city with her back straight and her hands resting lightly on the railing. Her presence seemed to pull him closer, as though some invisible force wanted him to come forward. "Ethan," she said without turning around, her voice soft yet carrying a weight that made him pause. "You have been thinking? I can sense it." He stepped closer, his heart pounding. I have. I can't stop thinking about what you told me, about who you are. I don't know if I can understand it all." Celine finally turned to face him, her eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. "Understanding is not immediate," she said. "It grows over time. But the truth you have seen is only the beginning. You are at a crossroads, Ethan. You must decide how to proceed." Ethan felt a knot in his stomach. "A crossroads?" "Yes," she said, taking a step closer. "Knowing what you now know changes your world. You have seen beyond the ordinary. You have felt the extraordinary. And that knowledge brings responsibility, danger, and choice. You can choose to walk away, to forget, to live as you did before. Or you can choose to step further into the world you have glimpsed, to learn, to experience, and to face what lies ahead." Ethan felt a mixture of fear and excitement. The idea of stepping into a hidden world full of mysteries and dangers was terrifying. But at the same time, it was thrilling. He had always felt that his life was too simple, too predictable. And now, He had a chance to experience something larger, something extraordinary. But the choice weighed heavily on him. To accept the truth fully was to risk everything he had known. To reject it was to stay safe, but perhaps never feel alive in the same way again. "I don't know if I'm ready," he admitted, his voice trembling slightly. It's a lot to take in. I've never experienced anything like this before. I don't know if I can handle it." Selene nodded, her expression gentle. "That is natural. Humans often fear the unknown. Courage is not the absence of fear, Ethan. It is the willingness to move forward despite it. You have already shown courage by facing me, by asking me to dance without knowing who I truly am. That same courage will guide you now." Ethan looked at her, trying to measure her seriousness. "And if I choose to follow this path, what happens then?" Selena's eyes softened. "If you choose to step further, you will learn many things about me, about the world, about yourself. You will see dangers that most humans cannot imagine. You will face challenges that will test your strength, your wisdom, and your heart. But you will also see wonders, experience life in ways that are impossible for most humans, and discover your own potential. It is not an easy path, Ethan, but it is a path worth taking." He swallowed hard, trying to steady his thoughts. The idea of challenges and dangers was frightening, but the promise of discovering something extraordinary was irresistible. For the first time in his life, he felt like he was standing on the edge of something that mattered. "And if I choose to walk away?" he asked cautiously. Selene's expression became somber. "Then your world will return to its ordinary form. You will forget much of what you have seen, or it will feel like a dream. You will be safe, yes, but you will always wonder. Curiosity will linger, and the feeling that something was missing may never leave you. But safety comes at a cost, and knowledge always carries risk." Ethan felt the weight of her words pressing on him. Safety or discovery? Fear or courage? Ordinary life or extraordinary experience? It was a choice he had never faced before, and yet he knew it was inevitable. The longer he waited, the more the decision seemed to shape him. As if the very act of thinking about it was pushing him toward one path or another. He took a deep breath, trying to focus. I need to know more," he said finally. "I want to understand what it means to step into your world. I want to see, to learn, even if it's dangerous." Selena's eyes glowed faintly, and she smiled, a mixture of pride and warmth. "You are wise to seek understanding. The unknown is frightening, but knowledge, courage, and awareness will guide you. Come with me, and I will show you what it means to walk this path. But remember, once you step forward, there is no turning back. The ordinary world will no longer feel sufficient. Your life will change, Ethan, and you must accept that." Ethan nodded, feeling a mixture of excitement and fear. He had spent so long living a quiet, predictable life, and now he was about to enter a world that was extraordinary, dangerous, and fascinating. Every instinct told him to hesitate, to retreat to the comfort of safety. But a stronger force, something deep within him, urged him to follow, to embrace the unknown, to see the world as it truly was. "All right," he said, his voice steadying. I want to follow. I want to see." Selene extended her hand once more, her touch cool and firm. "Then let us begin. But remember, Ethan, courage is not enough. Awareness, patience, and understanding will be your guides. There are truths that will challenge you, forces that will test you, and experiences that will change you forever. Are you ready?" Ethan took her hand, feeling the strange energy that seemed to radiate from her. I think I am," he said, and in that moment, he knew that there was no turning back. His ordinary life, his predictable world, was gone. He had chosen a path that would lead him into mysteries, dangers, and wonders beyond his imagination. And though fear and uncertainty were there, so too was a strange sense of excitement, purpose, and destiny as they walked together into the night. Ethan realized that he was no longer just a man living an ordinary life. He was someone stepping into a larger reality, a world hidden in plain sight, and he would never be the same again. Every step he took was filled with anticipation, every breath charged with curiosity, and every moment a reminder that courage was not the absence of fear, but the willingness to face it. And so, under the quiet glow of the city lights, Ethan began his journey. He didn't know what awaited him, what dangers or wonders lay ahead, or how his life would change. But he knew that he had made a choice to embrace the extraordinary, to follow the unknown, and to walk alongside Selene, the vampire queen, into a world few humans had ever glimpsed. The night stretched before them, full of possibilities, mysteries, and hidden truths. And Ethan, for the first time in his life, felt fully alive, ready to face whatever lay ahead. With courage in his heart and wonder in his soul, the night air was cool and quiet as Ethan walked beside Selene. Everything about this moment felt different, charged with an energy he could neither ignore nor fully understand. The city looked ordinary, with its dim streetlights, parked cars, and faint hum of distant traffic. Yet Ethan knew nothing about tonight would ever feel ordinary again. He had chosen a path that few humans ever dared to walk, a path that would reveal mysteries, dangers, and wonders beyond imagination. As they moved through quiet streets, Selene spoke softly. "The world is much larger than it seems, Ethan. What humans see is only a small fraction of reality. There are forces, creatures, and powers that exist just beyond sight, and some of them are dangerous. Others are not as they seem. My duty, my purpose, is to keep balance, to protect those who cannot protect themselves, and to guide those who are willing to see the truth." Ethan listened, fascinated. Every word she spoke pulled him further into a world he had never imagined. He wanted to ask questions, thousands of them, but he realized now that understanding would come gradually, step by step. It wasn't about knowing everything at once. It was about learning, observing, and trusting the guidance of someone who had lived far longer and seen far more than he ever could. "Is it dangerous?" Ethan asked finally, his voice hesitant. "I mean, being in this world, knowing what you know, seeing what you see." Selene turned to him, her eyes glowing faintly in the night. "Yes," she said simply. "Danger is always present, but danger is only part of the journey. The world is full of wonder, beauty, and knowledge as well. Fear will visit you, but it will not control you. Courage, understanding, and awareness will guide you. That is why I chose to reveal myself to you. You have the qualities needed to navigate this world. You are curious, perceptive, and brave enough to face the unknown." Ethan swallowed hard, feeling both excitement and fear. It was one thing to know that she was a vampire queen. It was another thing entirely to step into the hidden world she hinted at. Every instinct told him to hesitate, to retreat to the comfort of safety. But he felt a stronger force, one deep inside him, urging him forward. It was curiosity, courage, and perhaps something more, a desire to live fully, to experience life beyond ordinary limits. "Where do we start?" he asked, his voice steadier now. Selene smiled faintly, a mixture of warmth and pride. "We start by observing, Ethan. You must first see the world with new eyes. Notice what most humans ignore. The hidden exists everywhere. The quiet streets, the shadows, the small details. Everything has meaning if you are willing to see it. And in time, you will learn the deeper truths, the powers, and the responsibilities that come with this knowledge." They walked through the city for hours, moving through alleys and parks, quiet streets and hidden courtyards. Ethan noticed things he had never seen before, the subtle patterns of light and shadow, the sounds that were barely audible, the signs of life that humans usually overlooked. Selene pointed out small details, teaching him how to observe without judgment, how to notice without interfering. "You must learn patience," she said. "The world is vast, and knowledge is gained gradually. Rushing leads to mistakes. Seeing fully requires attention, awareness, and humility. Most humans do not have the patience to see what exists beyond the ordinary. You have already taken the first step." Ethan nodded, absorbing her words. He felt a strange sense of purpose growing inside him, a sense that he was beginning to understand something essential about life, about the world, and about himself. For the first time, he realized that courage was not just about facing danger, it was about choosing to see the truth, even when it was difficult, strange, or frightening, as the night deepened. Celine led him to a quiet park near the edge of the city. The trees were tall, their leaves whispering softly in the night breeze. A small fountain glimmered under the moonlight, and the air was filled with a gentle, peaceful energy. Ethan felt a sense of calm settle over him. But he also felt anticipation something significant was about to happen. "Ethan," Celine said, "stopping near the fountain, you have chosen a path few humans ever take. But now comes the most important part. Knowing the truth, stepping into this world, it requires understanding responsibility. Every action has consequences. Every choice matters. The hidden world is not simply mysterious or magical. It is governed by rules, balances, and unseen forces. You must respect them, or you will face challenges you are not prepared for." Ethan looked at her, trying to absorb the weight of her words. "I understand," he said quietly. "I know it won't be easy. But I want to learn. I want to see to understand. Even if it's difficult or dangerous." Celine smiled, her eyes softening. "That is all I ask, Ethan. You do not need to be fearless. You need only to be aware, willing, and brave enough to follow. Courage is not absence of fear. It is action despite fear. And you have already shown that courage tonight in countless ways." For a long moment, they stood quietly, watching the city below them. The world was peaceful, yet Ethan knew it was only the surface. Hidden beneath, as Celine had said, were mysteries, dangers, and forces that humans rarely perceived. And he felt privileged, even humbled, to have been allowed to see the beginnings of it. Finally, Celine placed a hand gently on his shoulder. "You will face choices, Ethan. Some will seem simple, but all have meaning. Some may challenge your beliefs, your courage, or your heart. But each choice will teach you, guide you, and shape who you are. And no matter the path, you will never return to the life you once knew. That is the truth of knowing and of living fully in this world." Ethan nodded. He felt a mix of fear and excitement, but also determination. He had chosen this path, and there was no turning back. He knew that challenges lay ahead, that the hidden world would test him. But he also knew that he would never feel as alive in ordinary life as he did now. Stepping into the unknown with Celine guiding him, the first light of dawn began to appear on the horizon. Painting the city in soft pinks and oranges, Ethan felt a strange mixture of wonder and calm. The night had been long, full of revelations, lessons, and emotions he had never experienced before. He realized that he had been given a rare gift, the chance to see beyond the ordinary, to understand hidden truths, and to step into a world few humans ever glimpsed. Celine turned to him, her figure bathed in the gentle light of morning. "Ethan, remember this?" she said softly. "The world is larger than you imagine. Life is deeper, stranger, and more wondrous than most humans realize. You have seen a glimpse of this, and you have chosen to follow. That is courage. That is the beginning of understanding. And though the path ahead is uncertain, it is filled with possibilities, lessons, and experiences that will shape who you are forever." Ethan took a deep breath, feeling a sense of purpose and determination he had never felt before. I understand," he said, "and I'm ready. I want to learn, to see, to experience. Whatever comes next." Celine smiled, a mixture of pride and warmth. "Then let us walk this path together, Ethan. Step by step, night by night, you will learn, grow, and discover truths hidden from most humans. And though the journey may be difficult, it will also be extraordinary. You will never be the same again, but you will see more than you ever imagined." As the sun rose, Ethan felt the weight of his choice, but also the excitement of the journey ahead. He had chosen courage over fear, knowledge over ignorance, and curiosity over complacency. And in that moment, he realized something profound. Life was not simply about surviving, existing, or following routines. Life was about seeing, learning, feeling, and embracing the extraordinary. With Celine by his side, Ethan stepped forward into the new day, ready to face whatever mysteries, challenges, and wonders awaited him. The city around them seemed ordinary, yet he knew the truth: it was only ordinary for those who chose not to see. For him, life had become something larger, more vibrant, and infinitely more fascinating. And as they disappeared into the waking city, one thing was certain: Ethan's life would never be the same again. The night had revealed secrets, offered choices, and ignited a sense of purpose and courage within him. The path ahead was uncertain, full of dangers and wonders alike. But he would face it with awareness, bravery, and an unshakable curiosity. For the first time, he understood what it truly meant to live fully, boldly, and without fear of the unknown.